entrepreneurial ecosystem in Arkansas, especially in Northwest Arkansas. He gave an awesome talk at Barcamp Conway, and he's doing really cool stuff with Launch Retreat. So let's welcome James.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. What just happened during that unexpected silence? Most of us quickly, very quickly, began to feel somewhat self-conscious. If we were to describe in detail what that feeling was, we may come up with something like, is this planned? Why is this happening? Is there anything I can do to get him to start speaking? Does everyone else know that he's supposed to be speaking? He's probably about to start, right? No? Okay, that's weird. I will never forget that feeling that way as a young, completely inexperienced entrepreneur. I remember during my drive to work thinking, what am I going to do to help keep the jobs of these people that I hired? Christmas was approaching, and every one of our employees, Chris, Bobby, Jake, John, Molly, would be relying on their paychecks to help get them through the holiday season, not just paying the bills, but also giving gifts to their loved ones. The first day I needed to let someone go, I distinctly remember the gut feeling, why is this happening? One day I came into the shop and my partner and I realized the phone had completely stopped ringing, and it had been 4 days. We had a few emails, sure, but not a single sale for almost a full work week, and absolutely no serious leads. We scrambled to come up with Plan B. Did this mean we hadn't spent enough on marketing? It was more than uncomfortable. I was scared. And so was my business partner. That afternoon, I got on the phone and called my dad, a small business owner and consultant for 35 years, and he talked to me about what our options were. Launch Retreat is an annual weekend built on the idea that business owners in any industry do not have to do this alone, and we shouldn't. We can't. There needs to be somebody on the other end of the phone. Most MBA curriculums include a point in time where the following statement is made. Every business is constantly progressing to an eventual state of 0% profitability. When I was told that, I became angry. Why is that true? What the hell is that? There's no way that's even close to right. But unfortunately it is. Every business in any industry is a fight. Accountants, bankers, attorneys, software engineers, farmers, we're all in this thing together. Launch Retreat is a getaway that brings entrepreneurs together with mentors in their industry to provide one-on-one training for owners to work on their individual businesses in a facilitated, structured environment. Our model was built on the belief that no owner or partnership should be alone. We thought we'd work with all new companies. Okay, we'll pair new entrepreneurs with leaders that can help them see and prepare for the difficulties of working in their field, we thought. What happened next totally caught us off guard. Half of our applicants were business owners who had been in business for at least 3 years. One of our applicants had been in business for 20 years. This is exactly what I need, they said. And what we discovered was there were many young companies whose owners were dealing with some of the uncomfortable silences of business, and they were dealing with it alone. A critical moment in the application process for Launch Retreat is the interview, where David and I sit down with each candidate and simply ask them questions about their idea that they're launching, or their business. We try to come away from that conversation with the best understanding we can of where they are at and what their needs are. It was during this process we realized Launch Retreat was going to have to shift what we offered. Because here's what we heard. I don't know how to sell my product. I can, but I know I don't do it well. I have money set aside for marketing, but I have no idea where to start with it. I couldn't tell you what my P&L is. No, I don't even know how to get that. I don't know what to charge for what I do. But I know I make a lot of money, and people have been excited to work with me, but I do know that I need to charge more. Conferences as a whole can be effective at communicating important broad spectrum information. And most attendees come away with more knowledge than they know what to do with. So consequently, very little of it is actually integrated into their business structure or daily practices. During the 3 days at launch, those attending will work on their own businesses in between hands-on training specific to the needs we heard from them. They'll get one-on-one interactions with mentors gifted in areas in which they expressed a lack of comprehension or practice, as well as guidance in a few critical areas. Attendees will construct a 6-month growth plan for their business, including checkpoints on a calendar to help them stay on track where they're at in relation to their goals. We also provide a monthly checkup to help hold them accountable to the plan that they're implementing. Rosabeth Moss-Cantor says to articulate the ideal while still on a journey of determining what it means. Launch Retreat exists to provide 3 days during which business owners can better learn to articulate under the umbrella of mentors who can help along the way as they determine what it means to implement and effectively pursue the ideal. Thanks.
So now's your chance to ask James some questions. If you could just say for the video your name and who you're here with or who you work for. Who has the first question?
How's it going, James?
Oh, well, thanks.
Lucas Deem with RetroCat Media. So where are you at in the process of this whole thing? I mean, has it happened once and it's number 2, or is it first one coming up?
Our first one is in the end of October, and we had more applicants than we could take. We didn't accept all of them, and so we have a few spots open left.
Hey, Jeremiah Russell. I'm an architect here in Little Rock. On the website, you have an application form here, and it says you accept ideal candidates. Can you talk a little bit about what an ideal candidate is?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the big concerns that we had was creating an event where there wasn't a positive dynamic, where there were people who were going to the event because they go to events. There were people who were not ready for the event itself. There's a lot of work that has to be done before it's appropriate for you to meet some of your industry leaders in the field that you work in. Our biggest concern was that we were going to get mentors that we really respected and valued, and they would go and say, he's not anywhere near ready for anything that I have to offer him. He doesn't have any sales. Or, that's a great idea, but it's never going to fly. So what we needed to do on the front end was not decide what of our candidates was a good or a bad idea, but to find out how ready they were to receive either some guidance, mentorship, correction, instruction, some of the really important things. I mean, if your finances are nowhere near in order, how are we going to talk about a strategy for marketing? If you don't understand that you couldn't afford any more growth, how can we help you grow? You've got to get where you're at figured out first. So our biggest concern was that we would have less than ideal candidates because we would be helping them in ways that they didn't need.
So I have the next question. Why do you think it's important to do this as a retreat? So one of the things I find kind of difficult about running a startup is my daily life and kind of being in. Do you think it's good to remove people from that, or do you think there could be a problem there that you're giving people a little bit of a unnatural situation of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, one of the things that if you're in the middle of growing something, and especially if you're doing well, it's extremely hard to focus. And we talked about, a week-long, 5-hour-a-day retreat. Entrepreneurs can't normally pull that off if they're in a place where they need something like that. Most entrepreneurs, if they do have any kind of success and are working in a full-time capacity, aren't going to turn around and do an accelerator. So we're in a weird spot here of time commitment that's very, very important for entrepreneurs because they have to continue to keep working 9 to 9 or whatever they're doing throughout the week to get it off the ground or to keep it running or wherever they're at. So we created a 3-day weekend. It's basically a Thursday evening through Sunday afternoon because we think that most entrepreneurs could carve that time out somewhere. And we got a fairly good response to that, but we don't think we can take any more time from them. And what we got back was that was just about the max time that people were willing to invest.
More questions? All right. Last chance to ask something.
Tim Freeman with Polis Design. What did your dad tell you?
That's a good question. If I remembered all the things my dad told me, I'd be a lot richer than I am. He came back and said, the first thing is, don't spend any more money that you don't need to spend. He said, look at your payroll hours and don't cut people that's going to hurt them unless you know you need to do that. But trim off all of the fat in how you spend, because the first rule is that you need as much cash on possible if you're going to have a lull in sales, which after 4 days we decided was very much a lull. For where we were at compared to other companies that might experience 4 straight days of no sales, it was not as big a crisis because we were significantly smaller at that point. I think we had 8 employees. But that was incredibly important because it meant that we put off a company lunch for 2 more weeks. It meant that we sent people home early. We got creative. We actually put off purchasing in bulk for a little bit and just got what we needed and made it. So.
Other questions? All right. Well, we at the end of every 1 Million Cups presentation, we like to ask, what is one thing that our community can do to support Launch Retreat and to grow it?
Awesome. I appreciate that. I think that this is really good. I think we were talking earlier about social media. That's also really important, just for people to understand that this resource exists. It is going to be in October, so we are still available. So if you know of somebody that you think this might be a good fit, just have them apply. It's free to submit the application. We'll take a look at it, do an interview, and see if it is a good fit for them and if we are able to offer some things that can help their business grow. So, yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, man.